Hey, what's up, boys? It's been a while. Shit, I've been slacking. Um, Today, I just want to go over AVAX. I think this one's going to benefit from the rotation that I'm expecting. As of now, Bitcoin is obviously leading markets, right? So if we go into, let me just pull it up here. So if we go into BTC dominance, you could see we've broken out. So this low right here, when we're approaching it and we reject it, I figured, okay, maybe this is topped. But you could see we followed through and we're going into an internal imbalance and a monthly imbalance here. So this could continue ripping up and BTC would continue leading the market. But the way I'm watching things, at some point, Total One and BTC dominance should top. And major players are going to be taking profits and then rotating into other highly liquid L1s. So then you got to ask yourself which ones would be the best candidates. Um, I mean, just look back in previous cycles, right? So if you look at the last cycle, anytime there was a rotation, it ended up being AVAX, Solana, and Phantom were leading the market. And then eventually the profits on those spilled over into alternative coins, right? So I think at this point, AVAX looks pretty bottomed and it lends itself well to a really strong rotation and it's showing relative strength at the moment. So I think this one's going to benefit the most. Now, here's a setup that my boy Alex and me were looking at originally. We had these equal lows established from June and July 2021. They're perfect equal lows, and you could see here an internal low was created just above it so that anyone who entered here for this move, they likely added to the liquidity pool here and put their stop below these lows. So eventually, when those gets flushed out, the drawn liquidity, which was always here, was met to the downside. So then in a liquidity model, you're basically looking at what are the upside liquidity objectives coming out of that external low rate. Typically, you're looking at internal to external or external to internal. And this right here was the external low rated. And then you could see there's a weekly imbalance right here. But if you scale out, you'll note that this is a giant monthly displacement down. So that monthly void in liquidity over here is likely to be where we reprice to if this move is the low and we start getting momentum to the upside. So I'm watching that monthly imbalance as my final target. Now, if we drop it into a daily, I'll show you the local setup we have right here. So clearly we're in a bullish trend. We left behind equal lows here. So it's a little bit sketchy. You know, it means if price is coming down hard, that they might be targeting these equal lows for one more raid and one more fill of bids before the push up. However, I'm looking at a level over here, inside this dealing range. Now, here's your external high, and it sits right below this daily imbalance. And if you zoom out to the left, you could see there's established structure 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breakdown. So I believe a setup like this is forming where you basically stop short of this external high, induce shorts early, and then basically get a raid up to rebalance this candle into structure. Then what I'd be looking for is a 5 or 15 minute shift in order flow here, where you break any microstructure created on that move up, and then you rebalance whatever void or whatever imbalance was created in this leg of the move. And then if it starts, building momentum on the way down, what I'm actually watching is a 12-hour setup that formed. So if you look here, we had these equal highs put in here, and then you had this bearish order block form before pushing down and taking this liquidity. So this bearish order block, you could see on the move up, we displaced above it. So clean break above and then followed through breaking or shifting market structure. So that bearish order block becomes a bullish breaker on the flip side. Now, the model I'm trading, you guys who know me know I really like this unicorn model. I just find it's a really high probability trade based on, what I've journaled and trades I've actually executed. And what it is basically two arrays in discount that form at the same level, and ideally they form at the same price. Same time frame. So you have that 12-hour breaker and that displacement candle left behind a 12-hour imbalance between those wicks. So between the two, you have your unicorn set up down here. And then depending on where this move ends, I'm anchoring the fib to this swing low. And you can see it's a clear pivot. Here's a low, here's a lower low, higher low. So that's your swing point. If we anchored it to here, let's say the move stopped here, this would be our OTE. So optimal trade entry between the 618 to 786. I use a 585 just to front run the 618. But let's say it goes into structure. So it wicks into there and then shifts order flow. All it does, it just makes your 618 a little bit higher for the OTE. But I'm still going to be targeting the 786 inside that imbalance that was left behind and the breaker. So I'm going to start laddering in somewhere around here at 950 with a second bid at the bottom of the imbalance right at this order block around 932. And I'll do 25% there, 25% there. And my final bid will be the bottom of this order block / breaker. There's another one right there at the 909. So now I'm 25% in. And then when it goes green, I'm going to add the rest. So another 25% when it goes green. And that way you're averaging down your entry. So your risk in the beginning might be 9.67. But when it's all done, your blended entry, you'll probably be at like 6.5, 7%, whatever it is. So you have a much lower risk in the trade. And because you're adding your final 25% once it confirms a bottom and retains a bullish market structure, your risk is minimized. So if it starts pushing up, you'll be able to at some point shave a little off and then move up your stop into break even. So it's a way to manage your risk on that push up. Then what I'm targeting is essentially these TPs that I've put on the chart. So your external high over here, and then there's a baby imbalance right in there as well. I think it's also a 3-day, but let me just double check. Yeah, so you have a 3-day imbalance still between that wick and that wick. But either way, this is going to be a good area of interest to take profits because you have structure over here. Then you have on the daily this liquidity pool. You could see these equal highs right here, and then this relatively equal high slightly higher. So all this to me is represented by a liquidity pool. So I'd like to take a second TP around 22. And then you could take more off at this external high, but for me, I think once it enters the monthly imbalance, there's going to be strong momentum pushing it up. So I'd like to be a part of that trade. And I do think it's going to have a move into the $43, $44 range over there, just because that's the mid on this monthly imbalance. But that's the mid of this weekly imbalance, but it's also the mid on the monthly. So they kind of line up at the same area around 43, 44, which is why I think that's going to be a good area to take 90% off and then just leave a runner 10% in case this starts charging for order blocks much higher. So like, let's say it goes into a breaker over here or it goes into this order block. You still want to have some of your position on. So that's the AVAX setup. Again, I'm looking at, for anyone that missed the streams, the main thing I'm watching is Dixie. I want to see where this tops, if it does top in the range over here. I'm looking for an AMD model to push it down, but I first want to see the internal imbalance get filled. Again, this is the 3-day, but the weekly goes all the way up to there. So somewhere around the middle. And when that happens, I'm looking for BTC dominance to top out. And then on total 1, which is mostly BTC, I'm looking for the push up into the same area of interest and then forming another AMD for this one and pushing down. When this tops out, total 1, which is mostly BTC, that tells me that people are selling or taking profits from their BTC move and they're starting to push it into alts. So I want to see total 3 start running at the same time that total 1 is coming down. Right now it's kind of flat, but if I see this breaking above here, I have an alert, total 3 climbing. I'll just start adding alerts at each level, and then that'll be a cue or like an early signal that people are starting to push their profit into alts. So just watch for that. And good luck trading this week. It's NFP and FOMC week, so don't go high risk and don't over leverage. Try to just put minimal on this week, protect capital, and then wait for a bias by the end of the week to really start pushing into trades.